Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Game and Gig podcast, we're talking about the future of Resident Evil, the best year ever for co-op games, and hide your kids and hide your wives because Nintendo's taking everybody to jail.
Well, if you're new around here, welcome to the Game and Gig podcast. We are a viewer-driven podcast. We take comments from you guys, we read and react to them, use it as jumping off points, and that's just how we do things around here.
That's how we do it around here. So, if you're new here and you like what you see, even if you don't like what you see, we don't even care, honestly, if you like it or not. Just sub anyway,
Ask people to sub. We don't do that very often.
I know. I've had it in the outline for 2 weeks, and we haven't done
Ask people to sub. Oh, man.
And for the record, we care if you like it. What I meant was sub either way. That's all I meant. We're glad you're here.
Well, first things first today, we're talking about Resident Evil. We recently had an interview with the director of the upcoming Resident Evil game. I don't know, is it going to be called Resident Evil 9? Maybe.
I mean, it's probably going to be called Resident Evil something.
It'll be something.
Might as well put a number on it.
Last time we got Village, which was like the 8 was hidden in there in Roman numerals.
Maybe we should call it the successor to Resident Evil 8 Village.
Yeah, that
until we get an official. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this game is rumored to be coming out within the next year or so, probably 2025 game.
Yeah.
And this is going to be potentially open world. That's what all the rumors are saying, that this is going to be more open world than Village. Village was already
Open-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the rumor, because they're using that new RE engine that they expanded on for Dragon's Dogma. Mm-hmm. And the rumor is that this game is going to use it and Monster Hunter Wilds will use it.
Yeah. Which Monster Hunter Wilds, from what we've seen, looks really good.
It does look really good. It looks so good that I borrowed Monster Hunter Rise from Randy and I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. I'm excited. By the way, guys, I am a huge Resident Evil fan. I love the games. I love the old games. I love the new games. Mm-hmm. And I'm very interested in Resident Evil 9 because, this is obviously being directed by the same person who directed Resident Evil 7.
Right.
Which Resident Evil 7 made a big splash for being one, kind of going back into being more of a horror game and less of an action game. Mm-hmm. And also, Resident Evil 7 was very notable for being the first Resident Evil game to be played in first person.
Right.
Which really ups the horror factor.
It definitely does. It's definitely more immersive, to be in first person. And what little I played of Resident Evil 7 was freaking scary.
It is a scary game.
Yeah.
Now, Village is also in first person, but it is not as scary for most of the game, except when the game decides to be the scariest Resident Evil game ever in one section. Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested in, will Resident Evil 9 be a first-person game, or will it go back to being a third-person game? Mm-hmm. And I have my thoughts on which one I think they're going to do.
Right.
But I wanted to find out what you guys thought. So we put out a poll about this, and Daniel hit us with the poll that says, how do you prefer your Resident Evil games?
Well, at 17%, people said, give me that first-person goodness. I want to crap my britches. At 54%, people said third-person, my britches are pre-crapped, no need to crap again. And at 29%, people said, I don't play that crap.
A lot of crap in this one. Look, interestingly, Resident Evil Village came out, it was a first-person game. Later on, the game got a DLC. Mm-hmm. And along with that DLC came the option to play the game in third person,
right,
should you choose. So it's obvious that Capcom knows that not everyone is a huge fan of the first person at Resident Evil.
Yes. I mean, they made a ton of Resident Evil games that weren't first person. So, that makes perfect sense that people, are at least nostalgic for the old style.
Yes.
And would Leon really feel the same if we were looking through his eyes?
That's true. And really, strangely, the protagonist of 7 and 8, mm-hmm. You don't see his face because it's like it wants you to be the character, right?
Because it's my face.
Basically, yeah. I mean, in a way. But then we also got, with that Resident Evil Village DLC, we got its own game called Shadows of Rose. Mm-hmm. And that was a game that was played in third person. So it makes me think, I kind of thought that Resident Evil 9 before the DLC came out, I kind of thought the next Resident Evil game would star Rose as the main character. I didn't realize we were just going to get a DLC that did that instead of a full game. So, okay. So I have no clue what Resident Evil 9 is going to be like, but I tend to think that they are going to go third person with it.
I kind of hope they do, because those are the only RE games I've ever completed were a couple of the third person ones, and I really like them.
Oh, they're great. They're fantastic.
I would prefer that, just because I would like what I already know I like.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the reasons I like the first person is that I really like that all the recent Resident Evil games we've gotten have come with VR modes, which obviously makes a ton of sense for Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village. Sure. Both those being first-person games work great in VR. And fantastic games. And but now we find out that like they just like the idea of you being able to go in. So we've gotten Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Resident Evil 4, the old version, have both got VR modes. So it seems to me...
played them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I haven't played Resident Evil the remake in VR. I played the original. Oh,
you played the original in VR. So you couldn't move while you shot.
No, they changed that. You could move while you shoot.
Well, good.
I think. I may be wrong about that. I don't remember. It's been a while.
I think you may be right. I think I remember you saying that they changed that.
I think they changed it. Yeah. For that VR mode, which was like came exclusively to the Meta Quest headsets.
Right.
But anyways, so I think that they know that generally people like the third person. So I think if we only get one option, I think it will be third person. But I could see him doing like we saw with Village, where you have the option to swap back and forth. Like if you want to play it in first, you can. If you want to play it in third, you can. I could totally see that being a thing too.
Well, you know, that kind of leads us into our first comment here.
Yeah.
We got us a comment from Morris Dennison, you know, the man with the name that you just love to say, who said, so here's something I think would be cool. Make third person and first person a selectable option. Then make a fixed camera mode an unlockable option. There were a lot of comments on this poll about fixed camera modes.
Yeah, because the original Resident Evil games were fixed camera. I personally don't like the fixed camera very much.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that. It's more... I think someone commented on saying that like it's hard, the depth perception is tough on the fixed camera. Totally agree. It makes everything a little wonky, although it does have a cool retro vibe. I just don't... Playing a whole game that way is a little tough for me.
Yeah. Well,
I much prefer to have third person if I'm going to, have a camera outside the head.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And, our next commenter, Soul Intent, they may agree with you. So maybe you read that comment.
Yeah. Soul Intent 95 says third person. The original fixed camera layout, I can't play games like that. I have a hard time with depth perception in games like that. The remakes were a blessing. Okay. So this is where that comment was. Turns out you had pulled that comment.
Yeah. Randy, I'm telling you what, he comes in here and he just tries to steal thunder. Like I go through this outline with a fine-tooth comb. I paste this like an episode of Dragon Ball Kai, okay? Not Dragon Ball Z.
No, that'd be horribly paced.
I want to get on with the damn story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want the rising action. I want the climax. Got to have the climax. And I want the falling action.
I could probably take a minute and read the comments that you've pulled to make sure I know what's there. That would probably be wise of me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I know I've read all the comments, but I just don't know which ones you've pulled.
Right.
But now I know. Yeah, totally agree. The depth perception is weird on games like those fixed camera games.
And I think that would feel so dated if they were to put that out nowadays. I feel like that would make it feel really dated.
But that would be a cool unlockable thing. But if we work on the assumption that it's going to be an open world game, fixed camera probably isn't going to happen.
Well, you just put a God cam, over the whole world. And then you just play the game like you're a bunch of ants down there.
You'd have to have so many pre-programmed in fixed camera options. You'd be walking and then all of a sudden it just shift to a slightly different camera angle and it would just be all over the place.
No, because it'd be a flat earth.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have a God cam and you'd just be able to see everything. Like that.
You're like a little ant walking around.
Right. Like Link's Awakening DX HD. Did you remember that PC port?
The PC port, yeah. You can zoom out and see the whole map. Yeah.
That's how it's going to be. That's how RE9 is going to be.
Ooh, that would be, ooh.
It sounds scary and immersive.
Just a completely top-down.
Makes it feel like an RTS.
You can't see what's going on. Would love it. All right, we have one more comment on this. Hit us with this one from Neems
Nemesis VR.
Nemesis. That's not how you spell Nemesis.
No, but
Oh, there's a 1 in there instead of an I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So from Neems 1S VR, Neems said, always preferred first person because of the horror. Oh, the horror.
I mean, Resident Evil 7 especially is just like scary throughout.
It's scary at the beginning. I'll tell you that. That was back when.
I think you need to go back and conquer that game.
I will one day. I will. That may be a fall game. You know. I still had a roommate when that game, or I guess
it came out in 2017. So
yeah, I think Frankie was living here at the time. Anyway, he had the game, but he wouldn't play the game. He would only watch me play the game because he's a big scaredy cat.
Yeah.
And so we only got we didn't even get out of the house.
Didn't even get out of the first location.
But we did play it for a number of hours, and it was a blast, and it was scary.
Yeah. I love that game so much. I've been thinking about going back and playing it. I tried to play it in VR, and I played about half the game in VR. Yeah. And then I eventually was like, I was going so slow. It's not that I wasn't enjoying myself.
You just ain't man enough for that.
But I was working my way through it so slow because when you're playing in VR, everything just feels so much more, real, and you just really want to take your time. And I thought, if I'm going to make it through this game, I got to stop playing it in VR because I'm working at a snail's pace.
Yeah.
So then I finished the game normally.
And Randy doesn't play games like that. Randy barrels through games like a freaking bull in a china shop. Like,
I really do.
Trying to play Chained Together with this man.
You don't want to work at my pace.
Because your pace doesn't work in a game like that.
Yeah, it does. If I was playing solo, I'd be ripping through that game.
Oh, yeah. Well, that game would be easy solo.
Yeah, well, yeah. But that's not the point of the game. No. I understand that.
Yeah. All right. So, we just mentioned Chained Together. Randy mentioned that he's going to be doing another playthrough of, what was it, Resident Evil 7?
Resident 7. I do want to play it again sometime soon.
So, I'll tell you the best place that you could do that, Randy.
Where would that be?
Our Twitch channel.
Y'all.
Guys,
what a segue.
We stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and some Fridays and Saturdays. Come hang out with us. It's a good time.
Indeed. There's a link to the Twitch channel wherever you get the podcast. Just check out the description.
Facts.
Daniel, so I don't know if you've noticed, but we've gotten a lot of co-op games in the last year.
I mean, I hate playing games with you, so I try to ignore this growing trend. But it does appear to be a statistical fact.
Yeah.
That, 2023 was a hell of a year for co-op games.
In fact, they say it was more co-op games were put out on Steam, and we're using Steam just because I guess it's where we got the stats from. More co-op games were put out on Steam last year than any other year. Mm-hmm. And not only that, co-op games, in terms of sales, they may have only accounted for I think it ended
36%.
36% of all the games on Steam sold were co-op games.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But that trend is changing because as of now in 2024, up to 46% of total games that are sold on Steam are co-op games.
That is wild. That's almost half of all games.
Mm-hmm. Now, there were some heavy hitters in 2023 called Helldivers 2 and Pal World.
Well, Helldivers 2 came out this year, 2024, right?
Maybe.
Pal World came out
Why was it in this article then? Listen, this ain't the time.
Both those games came out this year.
Well, why were they in the...
I think that they're saying that it's for this year.
Okay, I just misinterpreted.
That's for this year.
Okay, my bad. So 75% of this 46 from this year is Pal World and Helldivers.
Yeah,
okay.
So two huge games that both heavily feature co-op options.
Mm-hmm. Which could be skewing the data just a little bit.
It could be, because I think that although almost half the games sold on Steam have some sort of co-op option, only 5 or 6% of the games are actually co-op games. So they're really punching above their weight class, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That being said, we've seen that games that have co-op as an option are just really huge because people like to play games together. Yeah. You like to get the buds together and play games.
That's right. You got to squad up. Mom, the boys are online, Mom. Mom, leave me alone, Mom. I can't go outside right now, Mom. The boys are on Rainbow.
They're on.
Mom, I need some pizza. Oh, sorry.
I'm guessing that this does not account for free to play games, because often free to play games will have some sort of co-op option, but these are purchased games.
I'm thinking so. I mean, the article definitely talked about games that were released and sold. It specifically mentioned sold, so you can't sell what. How can one sell what is free?
Yeah, and we don't have like some of the huge games like Fortnite's not on Steam, obviously, and that would be if obviously that's a free to play game anyway, so maybe it wouldn't matter.
Right, Redfall not on Steam.
Redfall,
nobody's playing that game.
No one's playing Redfall, but it did have a co-op option.
I mean, it was meant to be a co-op game. I mean,
true, we got the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Mm-hmm. It's the thing to do now.
It is the thing to do, and it's not always for the better. But.
Well, we put out a poll asking about these co-op games, saying, have you purchased a co-op game in the last year? And 62% of people said, yeah, I bought a co-op game in the last year, and 38% no. I think that's pretty good.
Can we get a little more personality when you read these poll results?
Yeah, next time.
Okay.
I promise. Next time I'll do it. You just wait.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, I mean, 62% of people saying that, yeah, they bought a co-op game.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
You thinking because of Pal World, you thinking because of Helldivers, like those two games specifically?
I mean, I think those two games helped. But I just think people like to play games together. So these results don't surprise me at all. I mean, to be a gamer that hasn't bought a game that is capable to be played with another human in the past year, I feel like that is a rare group. I feel like these results should be even more skewed. Honestly.
You think it should be more than 62%?
I think people in this 38% are missing something.
Well, maybe.
I don't think they're thinking like, oh man, I did buy this game and it does have this mode. It's so common.
It is super common. But then, because like both, I mean, Pal World, you can play single player. You don't have to play that in co-op.
Helldivers, same way.
Helldivers,
you really want to be wild.
I guess Helldivers. I would say that the stats on the number of people who have never played Helldivers with other people is probably very low.
Yeah, I would say so.
I would say most people play it co-op in some way.
Even if you bought did Super Mario Bros. Wonder have a co-op?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just so common nowadays for there to be, even if it's phoned in. Not saying Mario Wonder was.
No, which it wasn't.
But some of them are. And, but they're there. They do exist.
Well, speaking of, we talked about Chained Together. That's another great example of a game that's kind of hot right now, and it's dedicated. It's really meant to be played co-op.
Right.
Can you even play that game single player?
Yeah, you can. Opti played it single player and beat it.
And it's probably way easy single player, but I'm sure Opti would have enjoyed having someone around to play with.
I'm sure. Donkey put out a video on Chained Together. I haven't
saw
watched
that.
it yet.
I haven't watched it. I saw that Donkey put one out.
I'm waiting for prime time, to put that on the TV.
Yeah, that's going to be really funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's read some comments here. Read us this one from Jesse.
Okay, old Jesse said, mini games on the Nintendo Switch. So I pulled this comment specifically. I know it sounds very simple, but I have rediscovered the Switch because I'm playing another game. We'll talk
rediscovered it. You've taken so much time off from it, right?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Really?
I mean, when's the last time I really played a lot of Switch?
You're right. Probably Tears of the Kingdom.
Probably Tears of the Kingdom. So
it's been a year.
Yeah, and we'll talk more in the bonus episode when we talk about games we're playing because I am loving it again. I mean, not that I ever didn't love it.
It's just
I
getting
just
old.
took a break. It's getting old. Exactly. But anyway, I was curious about this because Randy has played about 1 million co-op games. And I was wondering. I wanted to hit you with a heavy-hitting question on the spot.
Okay.
What is your favorite co-op game you've ever played on the Switch?
One that I've ever played on the Switch. So I got two answers. Number one, if you're looking for the best co-op game on Switch, I have to say it's probably It Takes Two because that's the best co-op game ever.
Yeah.
But I did not play it on Switch. I played it on PlayStation. But it's there on Switch. So in terms
that's got to be the best one.
Yeah, if you're looking at the best co-op game on Switch, that's my answer. The best co-op game that I have played on Switch. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that is a really heavy hitting question. You mentioned Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I don't know if that's the best one, but that's one that does come to mind as being a really great co-op experience. Especially after we just played Super Mario Bros. Wii, which the co-op wasn't as well implemented as something like Wonder, so it makes Wonder feel so good.
How would that compare to 3D World and Bowser's Fury or
Bowser's Fury has a horrible co-op mode. Don't.
Okay.
That one's not worth doing. 3D World has a great. It's really fun in co-op. In terms of Mario stuff, that one's a really good one. But I don't really know. I can't think of one as being that's the best co-op. There's so many great co-op experiences on Switch, and especially from Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo has some excellent stuff. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has a really fun co-op mode. Like I said, all the Mario games generally, besides Bowser's Fury, even Odyssey, even though it's a very lopsided co-op mode, Odyssey has a very fun co-op mode. It's good, especially if you're trying to get someone in the game and they can be cappy. It's very low stakes.
Right.
They can just try it.
They can't die.
They can't die. Yeah, things like that. There's so many good ones. And then there's a lot of indie games, like Ib and Ob or things like we're playing a game right now called Fogs, F-H-O-G-S. That game it's an indie co-op game. Catherine is loving it. I know. You got to be careful saying that one.
I laugh every time because I've been playing a lot of Switch and I see you pop up online.
Yeah.
And I laugh every time I read Fogs.
All caps.
It's such a weird name. I don't even get it.
It's a play on dogs because they're dogs. It's like two dogs that are joined in the center like cat dog. But instead of being a cat and dog, it's a dog and a dog. And they're called Fogs.
You've told me that before, but if I didn't know that and you asked me why is it called Fogs? You could lock me in a room for an eternity, and I don't think I would have ever gotten to that. I don't think I ever would have been well, maybe it's two dogs, and they're joined together, and they're called Fogs.
I don't know why they're called Fogs. They just are. That's the breed of animal. It's a fog. But Catherine is loving that game. She thinks it is so much fun.
Nice.
So it's an indie game. It's got its jank, but, hey, it's fun.
Dude, little jank is charming.
It can be. That's exactly what Catherine said. She said she kind of likes that it occasionally has some just janky moments.
Yeah. Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
Janky moments?
Little Jank.
Yeah. Well, that was my rap name.
Yo, would it do Little Jank? All right, we got us another comment here from Ray Chi. Randy, hit us with Ray Chi.
Ray Chi says Power World on Game Pass and Helldivers on PC. And those are the two big ones, right? I mean,
this was the only comment that mentioned these two games.
What?
That's crazy, ain't it?
Ray Chi's on top of it.
Yeah, Ray Chi's on it, and we're with you. We bought both those games, so...
Yeah, I didn't play Power World on Game Pass. I wish I had. But I heard that at that point, the Game Pass version wasn't the...
It wasn't the updated one.
It wasn't the new one, and I didn't want to be left behind. The game wasn't that expensive, so I was I'll just buy it on Steam.
Yeah.
That being said, I ended up thinking Power World was cool, but it had too much of the survival crafting thing for me to really like it.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish I had played it on Game Pass because I would have ended up not being a game that wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm. I would be interested in revisiting Power World at some point and seeing how it's changed.
I just don't know that I can do the whole crafting thing. I just can't a game that its center the good thing about Power World is that it does have other things to do for sure. It's not just crafting, but at the end of the day, the main core thing you're doing is survival crafting.
Yeah,
and I just don't love that. It's not my kind of game.
I don't always love it either.
Yeah,
but
although it can,
Power World it interested me so much. And I kind of do want to see how it's changed, but I don't know when I'll do that.
Is it still in early access, or is it finally going into...
Pretty sure it's early access still, but I don't know that.
It's going to be one of those games that stays in early access forever, isn't it?
Probably.
Never actually gets a 1.0 release.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there we go. All right, we got a comment from Celery Rose, who said, no multiplayer stuff. No co-op. No. Multiplayer of any variety isn't really my thing.
I think you're a rare breed there, but I commend you for sticking to your guns. Mm-hmm. I like them both.
Me too.
They're both a vibe at the right time.
Mm-hmm. I love dedicated co-op games,
mm-hmm.
But I also love single-player games that have co-op modes. If they have that, me and Catherine will play those a lot. And then, you and I play games a lot together on Twitch, so we end up playing co-op games together through that.
Yeah.
And you really just single-player games... I love having them for when I play games by myself. I still play a lot of them, but I mean, I find that I'm probably skewed a majority towards co-op multiplayer games than single player these days. I'm probably playing more of those.
Yeah, you probably are because you always have one going with Catherine, and then we stream all the time, and that wouldn't surprise me.
No, It's I love them. I love them so much.
All right. We got another comment from Macadeth,
Mac.
who said yes and regret it because nobody plays it with me. Deep Rock Galactic.
No one plays. Well, I'll tell you what. I've got your solution right here.
Holy crap.
So we've got a Discord server, and on our Discord server is a great place to meet up and talk to people. Say, like, if you're trying to find people to play games with, it's a great place to do that. Especially like Deep Rock Galactic. We got some people who play Deep Rock on our server, and they're always looking for people to play with.
We have, I'm just going to go ahead and out them.
Yes.
We have a resident Deep Rock Galactic expert. And the thing is I don't know what platform you're playing on.
Kit plays on everything.
That's what I was going to say is that
We got to fix that. But
my kitties are trying to I think they see the towel.
they're trying to get that towel.
Yeah. So anyway, Kit is a friend of ours on our Discord server, and Kit is like 3,000 hours into the Xbox version.
Yeah.
And is now undercover on the PlayStation version as a noob. So if you run across a noob, but they're still just like womping ass,
It's Kit.
it's probably Kit. You
probably
should probably make friends.
Yeah. So come check out our Discord server, but also it's a good place just to hang out, talk video games. We put the polls on there. We talk about the polls. We talk video games. We talk gaming news. If you're just looking for a place to hang out with like-minded gamers, join our Discord server. We'd love to have you there.
That's right.
All right, Daniel, I'm going to move the towel.
Okay.
And then that way we don't have this problem anymore.
Hand me your cup.
Okay.
Or bring the towel with you. One of the two.
I'm going to move the towel.
This will be cut anyway.
No, I'm leaving this in.
You're leaving this in?
I'm leaving this in.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to go ahead and give a shout out here. Kit, I hope you're having a great day at work.
I like how you're assuming that Kit's going to be listening to this while at work. I love it.
That's what Kit says.
That's the way it works. I know. All right.
You just wait.
Just wait.
That's going to come around. That's going to come back. All right. So next topic. Randy, have you heard of this thing called the MIG switch?
I have heard. I do not have one. I don't know anyone that has one, but I've seen tons of YouTube videos.
You are in luck. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have one, but man, I thought about buying one when it got announced, but I didn't, and missed opportunity, I guess, because I think them some bitches are gone.
I think that it is very likely that the MIG switch. I mean, Nintendo's doing everything they can do to, like, kind of shut down anything in relation to these MIG switch things. Like they're suing sellers. Mm-hmm. We'll go over all this in just a second, but I mean, they really are trying to shut the MIG switch down, along with any sort of like modification or any ways that you can play illegal copies of Nintendo Switch games. They don't want you doing it. No, they really don't want you doing it.
They want your money. Mm-hmm. What would you have done if I pulled a MIG switch out of my pocket right there?
I would have been amazed because you haven't mentioned it. Yeah. So I would have been very, very, like...
That would have been a cool moment.
I would have been like, oh no, they're coming for us next. Because Nintendo is not messing around with this stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't have one. But Nintendo is not messing around. So they've got a couple lawsuits going right now. They're suing... and I didn't name these guys by name, but they're suing the operator of a store called Modded Hardware because apparently this dude was distributing MIG switches, but that's not as much the problem. He's also been offering, allegedly, a mail-in service where you can send him your switch, he'll mod it, send it back, and you might even find some bonus installed games on it, upon receipt of package, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so according to the lawsuit, dude's not only modding switches, he's giving you free pirated games on there. Basically, he's like spitting in the face of Nintendo. This dude's done, if this is true.
I don't think he's spitting in the face of Nintendo quite as hard as the other person being sued, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so there's another. Tell me about the other.
They're also suing one of, if not kind of the top mod of the Reddit community, r/Switch Pirates. And so this dude was, he's a mod in this community. So he's probably on paper, digital paper, helping people, point them in the right direction of how to mod the Switch, where to go to get these pirated games, how to install them, how to play them. And apparently there's some quotes that they found of him saying things like, I'm a pirate. I ain't giving Nintendo any money. I ain't paying $50 for a game. Like, you're screwed, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world?
Yeah, he is like basically facilitating illegal activities, essentially. And he's like trying to encourage and tell people how to do it. Nintendo is not very fond of that.
You're done, friend.
Yeah, and it seems to me that Nintendo has lately, I mean, they've always been pretty hard on this, but lately, it seems like they are really cracking down on it.
It does.
It seems like they're trying to tie up some loose ends before the Switch 2 comes out. And it
what?
Well, the successor to the Nintendo Switch.
Thank you.
Yes. And that makes me think that very likely, if not certainty now, the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible. And they don't want you to have things like, they don't want you to have access to the MIG Switch. Because if the MIG Switch works on the Switch, odds are it's going to work on the successor to the Switch, which would be very bad for them.
Yes. I know a guy who has a Game Boy Advance ROM cart.
Okay.
Very similar to this. And I heard that he tested it on a DS Lite.
And it works.
And it works. So this would be the same kind of situation.
Yeah.
But Nintendo cares this time.
Yeah, because the Switch is still in production.
Yes.
I mean, people are asking, like, okay, DS, flash carts are out there. They're not doing anything about those. Why do they not care? Well, the DS isn't in production. The Switch is here and now. And in my mind, there is a clear difference between, at least in terms of importance to something like Nintendo, we're talking about people pirating games that they are actively producing and trying to sell in this moment versus ones that they have, they're no longer in production. The consoles, they don't, they've kind of moved past those. The order of importance is very night and day to me.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about software for a console that's not only still being made and sold, but will most likely, or at least probably, I'm saying definitely, end up being the best selling console of all time. So, I mean, if there was ever a cash cow to protect, it's probably Switch crap.
It's probably Switch, exactly. And if we look at something like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, we know that they were also backwards compatible, like 1-to-1. And PlayStation 4 games are still on the shelf now in 2024. You can go into a Walmart. There's still PS4 games. There's still Xbox One games being sold. So I would expect us to see just regular Nintendo Switch cartridges easily being for sale even in 2030. We may still be seeing Nintendo Switch cartridges for sale in stores if that's the case.
2030?
Yeah, we're not getting a Switch successor to the Switch until 2025. 5 years after that, I could totally, if we're still backwards compatible, I could see us still getting Switch cartridges in 2030.
Yeah.
So they are not done with this. They do not want you pirating these.
Yeah.
Because they are not finished with it.
So we've talked a lot about piracy, but that was not the mission of the MIG Switch, okay? The MIG Switch was meant to play legally obtained backup ROMs of your games that you already bought.
Yeah, it was a big thing when they first came out with the MIG Switch. There was kind of the thing that separated. They were kind of like, this isn't just a flash card. This is a thing where it comes with nothing, and to put things on it, you have to use a device that you put in your games and you dump the ROMs on it.
Did it come with that device?
Well, it's sold separately. You can buy them together or separately, but you have to use it to put ROMs on the MIG Switch, from what I understand. Obviously, I don't have one.
Yeah.
But
well, you're in. No, how many times can I use that?
I don't know.
So we asked the Gaming Geek Faithful. We said, why do you think most people buy Switch flash carts? Randy, this is your opportunity.
Yeah, 13% of people said that they think it's because they want to play backups of legally obtained games. But most people say people buy these to play pirated games. 87% of people think it's all about piracy.
That was pitiful.
Oh, I forgot I was supposed to have a bunch of...
pitiful.
I'm sorry, yo. I let you down.
God.
I let you down. I was supposed to do that with just tons of personality.
I had no little attitude.
I had no personality.
Little sass. Get all... just cook some breads and soups.
Get all fat and sassy.
All right. Well, I was shocked by these results.
Were you now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only 13% of you think people are using this for the actual reason that it was made. You think 87% of people that bought this are trying to play pirated games? Shame on you.
Look, I really do think that obviously the appeal, is there much of an appeal of just getting all your games backed up onto another cart? Some, I guess.
Some people, I could see the convenience in that. Like, because I'll tell you what that does.
Okay.
Because the convenience of the all digital future is that you have all your games. You ain't got to worry about the cartridges. They're there, right?
Sure.
As long as they're downloaded and installed, you've got them. The bad part about that is that you now don't have the physical thing that we love to collect. And maybe one day you're not going to be able to play these games once they get pulled, right? The Mix Switch kind of bridges that gap. You know, you can still buy your physical games, but you get the benefits of the all digital future. That is cool.
That is
honest to God, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And if I had one, I would probably be trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I was just last night, you borrowed a game from me, and I showed you my Switch collection, and I've got tons of cartridges. I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
And it would be very convenient if I had all those on one cartridge.
It would be very cool.
And they've made some changes to it to where the MIG Switch now, instead of having to do the insert over and over and over, because that was the original thing.
What'd you have to do? You had
to. So had no way of, it had like no UI or anything.
Yeah.
So like you put the game in and it would just show you one game. And then to change the game, you had to take it out and put it back in and it would swap to the next game on the list. So if you had 50 games, you'd have to
did not realize that.
Put it in and out of your Switch 50 times.
You just had to sit there and like watch it.
Yes, until it comes to the and then if you missed it, you have to go back around.
Oh.
So now the new versions have a button on the thing and you just press the button. And it does the same thing, but you just don't have to
It's like a button on the cartridge?
On the cartridge. And you just press the button until you get the right one. So it doesn't wear out your, you don't have to put it in and out over and over.
There are some like Game Boy flash carts that have functionality where you like tap them in the right spot or squeeze them in the right spot and it'll take you to like the UI. So that's not too far removed from what we've seen before, but man, that first way, I had not heard that, and that sounds like a nightmare. Yeah,
they seem to fix that, but it may not matter because Nintendo is suing all the people who are selling these things, or at least it seems so. They're suing the big ones, the high profile ones, and I'm sure people are getting scared. Like if you're selling MIG switches, or if you're selling ways for people to accommodate people to play pirated Nintendo Switch games, I'd be pooping my britches right now.
You're done.
You're done.
So we got a comment here from Danny C 89 Hundo, who said, honestly, was thinking about getting one to back up all my games on one cart. It does get annoying having to swap them out. And to that I say, I agree with you, and good luck getting one.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it would be cool and it would be convenient, but I don't know if the convenience is enough for me to spend, I don't know, I think a MIG switch is around like $60, $70. And then also the thing, you got to have the ROM dumper, which is also another added expense. It's going to be probably close to buying 2 games.
ROM dumper?
Where you can put your...
I didn't even know her.
Oh, good one. I don't know if it's worth it to me. I like...
Oh, it's not worth it. It's just, it would be a cool little convenient thing. But I don't really want to pay $70 for that, especially if I'm already going to have to sockle the damn thing.
Right. You might as well just take it out and put the cartridge that you own in, right?
And there has always been something nostalgic about, putting a cartridge in and playing that game. Like
100%.
We've always said that.
Yeah, love that. It's just something about it. So next we have a comment from Crazy Fetch, who said, still need to get one. Don't use my Switch enough to keep buying games for it, and I'm free to download all these games I want anyway. Since it's not illegal for me to download movies or games, only to supply them is illegal. Ooh, I think that the Nintendo Terms of Service Agreement may disagree with you, my friend.
Crazy Fetch, all I'm saying is I hope that you live in another country where you are protected in some way, because if you're in the contiguous 48... I'm not sure about the frontier of Alaska or Hawaii, but if you're in the contiguous 48, you wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Doug Bowser is going to beat your freaking door down and whoop your ass.
There might be some, if you own the game, like if you own a copy of it, you might be able to argue that morally, maybe not legally, but at least morally, you have no problems getting a ROM of it and playing it via an emulator or something. Because you happen to own it, What are you typing?
Oh, I just looked it up. Doug Bowser doesn't give a crap about your morals.
Oh, yeah. No, he doesn't. But I could see, there's an argument to be made that morally, if you own a game, a copy of it, Like I was thinking the other day, like, say you buy a PS2 game, and, those things are really, if you put one scratch on them things, they're not going to play anymore.
No.
You bought it, but now you can't play your disc. Like, I think, You know, one could argue that morally you could download a ROM and play it via emulation because you have bought it. You know?
Sure, one could argue that, and one could lose. Now I don't know if Sony would destroy you like Nintendo would, but probably.
It doesn't seem like they care as much. For some reason, Nintendo is very, very protective of their IP. Oh, more than anyone. I think it's because they are very popular games, probably the most popular retro games, you know, for sure.
100%.
But also, I think Nintendo has big plans for their IP in terms of Nintendo Switch Online. I think that when we get the next console, I think it's only going to expand, and we might get to a position in the future where Nintendo offers next to everything they've ever made. They have a way that you can legally obtain and purchase and play those games right now. And at that point, the moral argument for something like ROMs and downloading, I mean, like, and playing through emulation through, like, you know, ROMs that you obtain from somewhere else, even the moral argument starts to be on pretty thin ice at that point.
Yeah, it does. And I'll tell you, you know, since I've gotten back to the Switch, I looked through the Nintendo Switch Online apps again because it's been a while.
It's bonkers.
Honestly?
Yeah.
It's getting pretty damn good.
Yeah, it really is.
It is getting pretty damn good because it's like, you know, I have a crazy physical collection of all these old retro games, and I have ripped ROMs off of all of them, and I have a lot of ROMs.
Right.
And you know, I'm always like trying to look at like what would be the best like ROM list, you know, to like have on this emulator, like because you don't want to get bogged down by having like the whole library.
Yeah, because that's just too much.
That's too much. And choice paralysis, I mean, like, is a real thing.
Totally.
And I was looking through the Nintendo Switch Online apps, and they have got a really damn good list. Like,
they do.
A very well curated list.
Very few omissions.
Very few. Now, I'll tell you a glaring omission that needs to be on the SNES app would be a little game called Chrono Trigger. But
that's not Nintendo though, so that's, you know, they're not.
I know.
If I'm sure that if Nintendo could choose, Chrono Trigger would be there.
Well, I'm just hoping that maybe Square is holding back because they're working on the remake or HD 2D. Like I don't know.
Chrono Trigger is a game that has historically been very unavailable. Like it just isn't hardly available at all. Even either through, you know, these collections, like they just don't re-release it.
They don't. Well, I mean, it was on SNES.
Mobile.
There's a mobile version. You can download it right now.
Was it a GBA that got Chrono Trigger, or was it DS?
It's DS. And the mobile versions, I think, are more or less the DS versions with a few things that changed. And they added like these anime-style cutscenes to the DS version. So that's kind of the version to play. There's also an extra dungeon. But that's not the version I played. I played the SNES version. But that would be perfectly fine to have the SNES version on there and have no cutscenes. Like,
I think Square does have plans for Chrono Trigger. I really do.
I really hope so.
Even if it's just HD 2D, which I think that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
But I could see them, you know, like what if they go like the full like Final Fantasy remake, like they go really do it, you know?
I don't want that.
You don't want that?
I don't want that. Chrono Trigger is not like the longest game in the world. And to turn it into like...
I'm not saying 3-parter. I'm just saying like what if they modernize it, like really take it and like... I could see that being really high profile for them if they made a modern version of Chrono Trigger. Like,
oh, it would be. That would be huge. And I would pre-order the crap out of it. But I don't want it. I don't want that. HD 2D I think sounds great. Or even just like pixel remaster style, you know, like they did the Final Fantasy games. I think that would be fantastic. But I'll buy anything that Rare puts out that says Chrono Trigger if it's a game.
Rare, you mean Square?
Sorry, yeah, Square.
They rhyme, don't they?
They do. And you know I'm bad with names.
You're bad with names, especially if they rhyme. Especially if they rhyme.
I don't know why I've gotten that way. I wasn't always like this.
Something happened to you. Your brain broke, man.
Dude.
All right, going back to our MiG Switch or just Nintendo Switch carts and why people buy them. But specifically about the MiG Switch, we have a comment here from Princess Pona. I'm not saying it the other way because that's how it is.
You really think it's dirty?
I do think it's dirty. And comment says, here's the crazy part. If you want to pirate games on there, you need 2 other devices and you have to have a modded Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, so I did some research on this. And It does appear that there are some protections,
Yes.
involved that I didn't know about.
You have to have at least one other device, which is the device you need to take your ROMs off of your existing Switch cartridges and then put them on the MiG Switch. That's for sure.
But Princess is talking about pirated games. If you're pirating games, you're not ripping them.
You're right. If you want to pirate games, you have to have two other devices. Yeah, there are workarounds, but it is probably a little intense.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you're just running such a risk at that point. Like you accidentally let your Switch hit the internet, and all of a sudden you're banned.
Yeah, that's happening.
It's
That's
happening.
where Nintendo is looking at, because when you take these ROMs off of cartridges, they have like a unique identifier to them. That draws them back to a specific cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have more than one person go online and try to play with these, these ROMs essentially, Nintendo knows that particular version, that particular game has been pirated.
Yeah.
At least by one of the people who it's dumped. Well, someone dumped it too.
And I wonder what happens in that case. Like the person who used it first, they shouldn't be banned.
Unless they're intentionally dumping making it available online.
But how do you know they didn't just get robbed?
Yeah, they got robbed. Someone robbed their Switch games and made all their ROMs available online.
Prove I didn't.
Very likely.
Prove I didn't get robbed.
Well, I think they're still going to take you to court and you can prove it in court. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Easy.
Easy.
I'm going to need you to stick around after the podcast. We're going to have to stage a robbery.
Stage a robbery. You just made... oh, no, Daniel. Nintendo listens to this podcast. I know Reggie listens to this podcast.
Reggie, I hope you do because I freaking love you. But I don't have a MiG Switch, so come at me.
He's just making a joke, okay,
Yeah.
Reg? All right. So, interesting. Any final thoughts about Switch carts? I'll tell you, my takeaway is that I would not get near one of these with a 10-foot pole because. One,
are you sure about that? Because
one, it's Nintendo. Two, the Switch is still in production. Switch cartridges aren't going anywhere. It's not like this is a really old game where you just can't buy them anymore.
Right.
To me, this is just I'd stay away from it if I were you guys, if you haven't already.
Yeah, it seems very cool and too risky.
Yeah.
It seems convenient and interesting, and I love hearing about stuff like this because emulation is just interesting to me.
For preservation's sake, especially. But we're not at the point of where this is, necessary yet.
No, if you can still go to Walmart and buy your Switch games, the preservation argument doesn't even hold any wind or hold a candle to the...
In fact,
10,000 candles in the wind.
The things that really need to be preserved are digital games that you can only get on the eShop and that maybe one day would go away, if the eShop gets shut down. That's the stuff that really, even now, we need to start thinking about preservation.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the MiG Switch really plays in any part of a role in that besides storage of the games.
Could you preserve those games by just getting a big-ass SD card and installing all your games to it? And just having that?
Potentially, yeah.
Is there anything that you can think of that one day Nintendo flips a switch and all of a sudden you can't play them?
Unless they have some sort of they have to call to the server to be able to be playing stuff. But I don't think, I think the majority of Switch games don't do that.
Yeah.
Unless they're online,
Because it's meant to be portable. So.
Yeah, and you can play the Switch in offline mode, without that. So I don't know. I don't think so. And that's when we saw, when the 3DS and Wii U was being shut down, there were efforts made to do that very same thing with the 3DS. Download every single game that was on the eShop to, just micro SD cards.
Yeah.
So that they're at least preserved in some way.
Yeah. I think I heard Bob Wolf talking about this years and years ago because he did go all digital with the Switch.
Oh, okay.
And I think him and somebody, it might have been Wood, I don't know, we're talking about aren't you worried one day you're not going to be able to play your games? And he was like, dude, I just got a big ass SD card. I'm never deleting anything off of it.
Right, yeah.
So
I guess if the SD card gets corrupted, that's your only thing. But that can be said about any storage medium.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. And that could very well happen.
It could happen. Everything goes bad eventually. SD cards don't last forever.
Except for Gaming Gig. Gaming Gig never goes bad.
Never goes bad. Never.
We have no expiration date.
Never.
We're shelf stable, baby.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I think that brings us to our last segment of the podcast, which is the 3 for Dale Club.
But first,
Oh, God.
I just want to remind you, after we get through the 3 for Dale Club, if you want to see the bonus episode that we're going to record right the crap after, okay? You need to become a YouTube member. We record a bonus episode every week. This week, we're talking about the successor to the Nintendo Switch and how Nintendo is addressing or hoping to address the supply and demand issues that plagued some consoles fairly
Yeah, they're
recently.
trying to stop scalpers, and they have a plan for that, and we'll talk about that in the bonus episode.
Okay.
But the 3 for Dale Club, look, thank you guys for hanging out with us this entire time on the podcast. We just want to say thank you for hanging out, supporting the podcast just by watching it. We love you guys. Thank you.
We absolutely love you, and we're going to list the people that we love right now, starting with Tom Derry
Yes, and D Spence 18.
and Bobbity.
Yeah, thank you guys for being part of the 3 for Dale Club. And also, well, if you want to be part of the 3 for Dale Club, we didn't even mention how you do it. All you got to do is leave us a comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, and in your comment, leave the secret code phrase 3 for Dale.
That's right. That's how we know. That's what I look for when I pull for the outline.
There you go. And then next, we want to give an extra special thank you to our YouTube members for supporting us and keeping us going. Our YouTube members are Heckvetica,
Land Installings,
Guy.
and Cataclysm of Deep Rock Galactic fame.
That's exactly right. Well, thank you guys so much for being members of the podcast and for supporting us.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for us. So until next time, I am Randy,
And I'm Daniel.
and this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.